Men om vi bara pratar om trådlöst.
Oh my, har han tänkt stopp?
God afton.
All right, KISS Army. Welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a KISS-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy.
And we're live. Welcome to episode 436 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we got the Scandinavian horde with us, consisting of Nils. Hi.
Hi.
Alexander.
Hey.
And I'm not sure how to say this in English. Bernt.
Yeah, Bernt.
Bernt. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about KISS from the Scandinavian perspective. This is a broadcast live, but you can listen to it later on YouTube or other channels. You can also use timestamps if you think if it gets too boring, you can jump ahead. So make sure you comment on during the show and also leave a comment after the show if you're listening later on. There's a new episode coming already tomorrow, but I hope you'll be able to find this one because this will be a special episode. So before we get into today's topics, I'd like you to get to know these guys a little bit more. First off, we have Nils. You might recognize him. He's been on the show before. But Nils, can you tell us a little bit about your history? When did you start listening to KISS, and maybe one or two of your favorite albums, please?
I started to listen to KISS in March 1978, but my fandom wasn't really great before around 79, 80. And my favorite albums, probably Hotter Than Hell and Rock and Roll.
That's two good picks. What about you, Alexander?
I became a fan of the band in 1984. I think the Heaven's on Fire, that song had a huge impact on me when I was only 7 years old back then. And I became a fan. And my favorite albums are probably Destroyer and Creatures of the Night.
And finally, Bernt.
Yeah, that's me. How about me? Yeah, I'm the oldest of us four, I believe. Yeah. I fell in love with KISS in March of 1975. I was about to buy an album with Sweet called Sweet Fanny Adams. And I saw this new Japanese band with a brand new or old album called Hotter Than Hell. I didn't know that they were Americans from New York back then. I thought they were Japanese guys. And they were heavy, really heavy. And so, of course, Hotter Than Hell is one of my favorite albums. Rock and Roll Over is another one. And then, of course, then it's hard. I would say either Creatures of the Night or perhaps Revenge. If I lost Creatures, I would have Revenge.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a few different favorites from you guys. I like all of the albums you mentioned. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. Let's see how far we get. But I think we should start by showing a bit of Scandinavian history when it comes to maybe magazines and books, because there are plenty of magazines and books from Sweden that North Americans, they might not even know that they exist. And I'm going to let Nils start off this topic. Can you tell us a little bit and show us a little bit about Scandinavian magazines and maybe go into a book or two, please?
Yeah, I was thinking about what actually could combine at least Sweden and Norway when it comes to Kiss fandom in the 70s and 80s, at least. And I think what really combines us is poster.
Yeah.
And that's for more or less all ages. Also you, Bernt. The poster is also an important thing for you.
Yes.
And we can show... it was started by a German guy called Hans Hartwig in 74, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. And he started, the first Kiss posters came in 1975. And more or less until the magazine folded in 1980, there were Kiss posters in all the magazines. 3 or 4 issues there weren't Kiss posters, but there were protests when there weren't. So but the main for me is it's like there's 3 Kiss specials, and this is the first one from 1977, and the second one is from the first one from 80. That was actually a Dynasty special. And you have the third special. That's actually just before the magazine poster folded. That was a special from the Scandinavian tour.
Yeah.
And there's also a picture of Bernt inside there.
Yes. I was 19 at the time. I was really pretty back then.
You still are.
And after that, he started a magazine called OK.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost his he had a real good connection with Kiss in the 70s, but he lost that in the beginning of the 80s. But then he got it back again afterwards. And then for me, the most important magazines are the one with when Kiss were here for the promo tour in 1982. And
there's actually some if you look at Sweden, what's it called? Is it called Sweden Rock Magazine, the one that Carl Linnaeus is writing for? Sweden
Rock Magazine.
The latest issue has a big poster from that photo session, a big poster of Gene. It looks excellent. So grab a copy of that if you have the opportunity.
And for me personally, this is this version of OK is also really important because that was the first time I saw them live in on the 83 tour in Gothenburg. So that's and those magazines were really popular in Norway also. So I guess they almost sold as much in Norway as in Sweden.
Alexander, as you started off as a Kiss fan in 84, 85, I guess. When you heard
and back then, the OK magazine is a very, very important magazine for me. And Kiss was in the magazine all the time, and they wrote, and they published exclusive pictures from the tours and everything. So I mean, that was a really, really important magazine for me, and as a kid. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And after that, we got some books or magazine, or what we're going to call them. I'm not really sure, but I'm not really sure what's first of this. But we had Kiss on Fire, and Shout It Out, and that's
the mid-80s. The mid-80s. Yeah, the mid-80s.
It's written by an Englishman, so I'm not really sure if it's a Swedish book, but it's in Swedish.
Yeah.
And Seymour.
Yeah. Do I have an echo?
No.
It was me. It was me. I'm the echo.
Okay. And then there came the big one, Still on Fire.
Yeah.
I do remember getting that one and reading it in a day or two, thinking it was really exciting. But looking back at it, it's full of mistakes and that kind of stuff.
A lot of mistakes.
Oh yeah, but it also shows how much you knew at the time. What did you say, Alexander?
Yeah, the most important thing for me with that book was the bootleg section in that book.
Yeah,
because before that I hadn't seen them at all. most of them, before I got that book. So I mean, that bootleg section was very, very important when you started to collect bootlegs, and you had them all there. All the old ones, the old vinyl bootlegs is in there. So
Yep, that's true.
But perhaps we should say right now that you guys that has English as your native tongue, you are missing out so much.
Yeah, Bernt is always saying. Bernt always says, "Why don't Americans go to school and learn Swedish? Because there is so much to read. Here we got a few, just like Partners in Crime, three real good books, and so on. And I'm sure Nils have a few others that he can show.
I can show the first one that came, but this is when did it come out? I don't remember. Around
one of you have the
2000 around 2000.
Nils, just wait a minute. One of you have sound coming out of the computer.
Okay,
because
I'm not.
I can hear some.
It's not me.
Not you.
No, I don't think it's me either. So
me neither.
Me neither, but I still can hear echo. Well, let's do it anyway then.
Okay.
So Nils, please continue.
And after a long time, the first book that came afterwards is Carl Linnaeus biography about Kiss. Den osminkade sanningen.
Oh yes.
Yes. And then
some people say that if you would try to read Swedish and you want to know everything about Kiss, then you should read that first one. But now, sorry.
Yeah. And then you have Kiss in Sweden. This is a real large, good book. I just remember now that do anybody of you have the other book, but the one book in English?
No.
I have it, but at another place in my apartment.
I have it here, but I can find it afterwards. And then you have Carl's and Alexander's great Partners in Crime books 1 and 2. And then you have Den sista dynastin, the last dynasty.
Yeah, the third one. And that's by the way another Alexander. So it's not me, it's another Alexander. Who's part of that.
Mr. Alex Bergdahl.
Yes.
Okay, that's a quick run through some of the Kiss books and Kiss magazines. Ben, do you have anything to add to that we didn't say?
I would like to add that the book Kiss I Sverige, Kiss in Sweden, is like a diary of all the tours, not the latest ones, but all the tours, all the concerts, with reviews and everything that happened during those days. It's a must, and it's sold out. Sorry. But first, you need to learn English, then Swedish, and then get the book. And Mr. Keenan, I love you too.
Okay.
Yeah, and those old poster magazines that Nils first talked about is very collectible these days. Especially the special ones with only Kiss, but also the ones with Kiss on the cover are very collectibles, as well as the posters. But the posters are a little easier to find. But the full magazines with Kiss on the cover is really collectibles, as well as the special ones. So
this is probably at least about $200 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. If you want it in good, very, very good condition, it's a lot of money. So
so many posters. And back in the days, back in the 70s, the people that were young back then, like me, because when poster came, I was 13, so I ripped it to shreds and I put it up on my walls. And in the ceiling, especially in the ceiling, because all the good things happens in the ceilings. And sometimes we were lucky enough to get pictures of runaways.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you did there. Yeah. Alexander, you talked about those things being collectible. That actually makes me think of another topic, and that is collecting Kiss stuff. You're sort of an expert in that area. I'm just going to show a film briefly here about Alexander and his Kiss collection. It's quite something.
Hey everybody, my name is Alexander Johansson from Sweden. I've been a Kiss fan and a Kiss collector since 1984. In 2004, I created something called Kiss the Exhibition, which is a traveling exhibition about Kiss. And I've been doing that all over Sweden and Norway ever since then. So if you're interested I'm working all the time with museums and exhibition halls and stuff like that. So if you're interested in have something like this at your museum or your exhibition hall, find me on Facebook. You can search on Facebook on Kiss the Exhibition and you will find me on Facebook. And there you have all the information and the contact information and everything. So hope to see you in the future in your city and in your museum. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, Alexander, you have to tell us a little bit about your collection, how it started, and what kind of stuff you have, because there's a lot of stuff there.
And that's just a part of it.
What? I didn't hear you.
It's just a little part of it.
Yeah, it's a little part of it. It actually started. I have always been a collector since I was a kid. You know, I collected. I don't know. I mean, I collected hockey cards and I collected stamps and all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff, you know, when I was a kid. And so when I started to become interested in Kiss, it wasn't that hard, you know. It was pretty easy for me to start to collect Kiss. And as any kid back then, you know, I started to collect records and I started to collect, you know, posters and, you know, all those stuff. And then probably in the early 90s, I got in touch with the old merchandise, the old toys and stuff, you know, the Mega Dolls and the all those stuff, lunch boxes and all those stuff. But then in the mid 90s, I got in touch with something that's kind of special and it's really fun to collect. It's actually stage worn outfits. And the very first thing I actually got my hands on was Bruce Kulick's zebra shirt that he used on the Animalized tour. That was the very first thing I got hold of from a friend in Sweden. Well, actually, I think one of his friends got it directly from Bruce or something like that. I don't really remember the story, but so over the years, I collected a lot of those stuff. And gold awards and you know, all kinds of it doesn't have to be really large things or anything. I like stuff that have a great story. And yeah.
And what are your most prized possessions, if you would rank them? Your absolute favorites, like the top
My
three.
favorites actually came to a great attention a couple of years ago. I have an original artwork of the Unmasked album cover, made by Vincent de Girlando. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but
and I'm the one who told you what you got.
Exactly. It is a great story. I told the story a million times, but it's a great story. The thing is, I got my hands on that artwork. It's like the size of an album cover. And I got my hands on that around 1997 from a friend in Sweden who got it from a collector in America. But I couldn't trace anything back, you know. I didn't know anything about it. And it's not signed. There were two major faults about it. It's not signed, and it has the Love Gun outfits instead of the Dynasty or the Unmasked outfits. They're actually on the cover. On the finished cover, and I had it for probably. I mean, I started to do exhibitions about Kiss in 2005, and I put it there in the exhibition in the beginning, but I couldn't, I didn't have any information about it. So after a while, I got sick and tired of all the people asking questions, and I couldn't answer them, because I'm a kind of guy who wants answers. I want to know things. So I took it away from the exhibition for a long time, and I had it in my hands for about 20 years without actually knowing what it was. And what is it made? Did it have any connection with Kiss, or was it made by a fan or whatever? I mean, I have to say that I didn't pay much for it back in the day, because I didn't know anything about it. So it was a long shot in a way.
You struck gold. Yeah.
Yeah, I did actually. But to make a long story short, when I got involved in the Destroyer Live podcast that I have with Nils and another guy, we got in touch with Dennis Wallach, who made all the artwork for Kiss for many, many years, and all the album covers. And I showed him that picture, and he didn't recognize it first. And I thought, oh my God, this is fake, because he's the guy making the album covers. But then Nils knew that there was another guy that were involved in the whole process of making album covers.
I knew Vincent had drawn the draft.
Yeah, you knew it before. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I sent it to Vincent, and it took me 30 minutes to get an answer from him. And he said, "Sure, I did it," and that was like winning the lottery, So then I got a lot of cool information that he made it, and actually the artist who made it, now I lost his name. What's the artist who made the unmasked cover? Victor Stabin.
Yeah, Victor Stabin, yeah.
Actually used that artwork as like I don't know, like a sketch to know, so he knew what to make, when he made a real album cover.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was that not many people knew anything about this artwork. So in about 2 years ago or something, Vincent posted that picture that he got from me, because Vincent got really excited when he found out about the artwork, and he posted it on Facebook, and I think 3 Sides of the Coin posted it on their Facebook. And all of a sudden, everybody got, oh, what is this? Blah 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 blah. What is this? And so that was a lot of fun. And I think Vincent was actually part of the 3. He was in 3 Sides of the Coin later on, and talked about it and everything. So yeah, that's a great piece. It's like it's my Rembrandt or something. I always say that.
Mona Lisa.
Yeah, my Mona Lisa for sure. So that's a really great piece.
Yeah, it's hard to top that one. Anything else that you want to mention?
It's really hard, because I got a lot of stuff. I got an Eric Carr shirt. Actually, that's the shirt that Eric is using if we're talking about album covers, that's the Eric Carr shirt that he's using on the Smashes, Trashes, and Hits album cover. If you look really, really, really close on that one, Eric is using a shirt there, and it's the same shirt as Eric is using in 1988 on the Monsters of Rock tour. There's a concert filmed in Schweinfurt, Germany. And you can see when the band walks to the stage and everything, and Eric is using that shirt on that show.
So one have to ask, if you would put a price, if you would guess, how much do you think your stuff is worth?
I'm not going to tell, because there's so much focus on money all the time, and I'm sort of sick and tired of that, because that's the first thing that people talking about, and
you have to ask the question. You have to ask a question, but it's okay if you don't want to answer it.
No,
Bernt,
I don't want to answer.
But Bernt hasn't said anything for a long while. We need to give him something to talk about. We talked about Kiss fanzines, and the fact is that Bernt was one of the, how should I put this? One of the I'm not sure
elder.
What to say.
I'm one.
Yeah,
of the
one
elder.
of the elder, because you were one of the first in Scandinavia who started a Kiss fanzine. It's kind of interesting to hear about that. So can you please tell us a little bit how it started, what kind of problems you ran into, how did you get your information, and when did all this happen?
Okay, the 2-hour version. All right.
Go.
Let's go. I usually say I have nothing to say, and these guys, they know I have. But everything started back in 1976. This is a long time ago. KISS were on the first European tour, and they came to Stockholm, Sweden, where I live. And they made one of those concerts that at least Swedes still, this very day, are talking about. That is at what some people say Tivoli Gardens, which it's not. It's Gröna Lund, the Green Lund. And you know what Lund is if we speak Indian. And I won't tell you because otherwise this will be beeped. Anyhow, I went to this concert and I think it was me and about 15,000 other people. Lots of people. So this is like a classic concert. I would like to say similar to the Madison Square Gardens ones, but for us in Sweden.
Sure.
After that, I went to his hotel, the Sheraton Hotel in Stockholm, because I was so pumped up. And I was 13 at the time. And I went into the reception desk and said, "Good day. I would like to speak with somebody that represents KISS." And I was like a grown-up in a kid's costume.
Okay.
And outside the hotel, there were lots of people in my age that were screaming, "KISS, KISS, KISS." I wasn't that kind. So what happens is that the guy in the reception desk calls somebody at the KISS crew, and it was J.R. Smalling. And he came down and said, "Oh, hello, what can I do for you?" And I said, "I'm Bernt Monson. I would like to start a KISS fan club in Sweden." And he said, "That's an interesting question. Yes, I would like to speak with somebody that represents KISS." Because I knew that I wasn't able to speak with Gene or Paul or anything like that. So he said, "Could you please stay here? I'll be right back." And he's away about 5 or 10 minutes. He comes back and he's very polite to this 13-year-old kid.
Okay.
And he said, "I have spoken with the guys and they are a bit inconvenient at the time because they just came from the concert. I understand why it was. And probably lots of girls at the room." So he brought me 2 tour books from the tour of 1976 and said, "Please contact them when they're back in New York and we will sort this out." So it started. And my first fan club magazines is in the big, thick book that Gene Simmons made lots of years later. I've seen it, I don't owe it. But then everything got started because I got the permission, of course. And I had people at Woodwell Enterprises that helped me a lot in the beginning. And there was one girl that spoke Swedish because she has been an exchange student in the very same town that Gina Davis had been exchange student. That's Falun in Sweden. So they helped me a lot the first time. And so I made those magazines. And back then, we didn't have any videos of KISS. I had never seen anything of KISS live, for the exception of this concert. And I was so totally insane in love for the band because they were so flamboyant. So, I can't find the words in Swedish, nor in English, because you don't have them. Anyhow, so the fan club started, and it was a success, of course. And what happens in a couple of years later, people were asking, how can we get fresh information about KISS? And I was telling myself that very same thing. I had a friend back then called Anders Tengner, which was kind of involved in the fan club. And he's pretty well known, I think, in the KISS areas. So what I did...
He's written a book also.
Yeah. And there is 2 chapters about these years that I'm talking about now. But what we did was that we made a phone-in service, which is, of course, an answering machine that was put on the air every Sunday. And that we filled with KISS information. And since everything grew, I got more and more friends in the US and in Canada. And I even have one friend that I still have contact with, pretty well known, a lady called Gilda Caserta. She helped me a lot with this, with the language, and get me more and new information. So anyhow, we made these phone-in tapes every Sunday, and they were a success, a real success. And you guys that are younger, you remember this. And then, if we should take a giant leap back to 2021, I think, I get questions again. Please, Bernt, please make a new phone-in service. And I said, well, nobody has any answering machines and they don't have any landline as well. So I don't know what to do. So instead, I made something called, in Swedish, Bernt pratar Kiss på söndagarna. In English, Bernt talks Kiss on Sundays, which is on YouTube, and you can find it.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description later on.
So, but anyhow, back to 1979, because then I got authorized. The Kiss Army Sweden was formed, and we made some really good magazines from that point of view. It's not like the ones that Kiss Army Sweden makes today that are awesome.
We'll talk
probably
about
show
them as
that
well.
later.
Yeah.
But what happens is in 1980, there comes a British guy called Paul Bertie. Yes, I will name him. And he had a Paul Bertie Marketing Limited or something like that. And he said, hey, Bernt, let's do some business together. You have the fan club, I have the merch. Let's do stuff together. Which I did. But he screwed me big time. Which means that I had to leave the fan club. But at the same time, back then, a lot of people were calling me and say, hey, Bernt, we're missing the fan club. So I made the third KISS fan club. That's KISS Fan Center, which I had from 1981 to 1983 with the same phone-in service, a good KISS magazine in black and white. But for those days, I think it was pretty okay. But then, back in 1985, I got so goddamn depressed about the whole thing. So I went into the closet, my depression closet, and I stayed there from 1985 to 2016. And what happened in 2016? Yes, two of these guys pulled me out of my closet and say, Bernt, please tell us all the good stuff from back then. And I said to these guys that have a podcast or a vlog called Destroyer
Alive.
Yeah.
Destroyer Alive.
Good. Yeah, it's good shit. You ought to listen to it. It's in Swedish too. Anyhow.
We have English episodes also.
Yeah, but not
sometimes.
Yeah. So what happens is that they were nagging me like crazy and said, please. And finally, Alexander, you were the one that was lucky. You managed to pull me out from my closet, and I never looked back. I'm back, babies. I'm back.
Thank you for that, Alexander. Bernt is a great asset for the KISS Army, so we're glad to have you back, Bernt. But Bernt, didn't you go on a trip? There was some sort of competition going on with one of the fanzines or something, and you went around. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I'm like the grandfather to meet and greet when it comes to KISS. I don't know if that's true. I say it's true.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
If we remember the magazine, the KISS poster magazine that Mr. NILS'S were showing. That's the one. In there, you will find everything that happens during the Scandinavian tour of 1980. One of the interesting parts here is that a couple of weeks before they came to Sweden, I was asking their tour manager and later a very mysterious Mr. Van Helsing. He claimed that he had another name as well. Chaim, he finally said, yeah, that's me. I'm to the very, very right, sitting
there
down.
you are.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. So anyhow, what we did was that we were trying to make something happen so that Swedish Kiss fans could meet Kiss. So we made a drawing contest, and 10 people were selected, and they could choose between meeting Kiss in Stockholm, Gothenburg, or in Copenhagen. Everybody wanted to meet them in Stockholm, so that's where the picture is from. And I thought that was a terrific idea, that you can make the fans meet the guys, not outside a hotel or an airport, but really meet them. So I thought that was a great idea. I had no clue when I came out from my closet that it was a Kiss meet and greet where you can meet your idol for trillions of dollars. But anyhow, so me and Anders and a couple of other people were traveling with Kiss during the Scandinavian tour back in 1980. Of course, we made sure that the fans were able to meet Kiss, which I think is really, really important. And then, of course, we attended several press conferences, photo shoots. I think some of us went to the movies with Kiss. It wasn't me. I don't remember who it was, but they say it was fun anyhow. But then we came to the end, and that's in Nils' country, in Norway.
Norway.
Yeah, where I recorded the press conference, which, how strange it might seem, it's on YouTube. I didn't put it there, but it's there, and it's been for several years. And it's a good press conference. But something happened a couple of minutes after that the press conference ended. I went out to the lobby at Grand Hotel in Oslo, and I met a Swedish kid. He was 12, maybe 13. And I said, "Hey, little kid, what are you doing here?" "Well, I'm with Kiss," he said. "You're with who?" "I'm with Kiss." "But how? You're just a little kid." "Well, I met them in Stockholm. And it was this really nice guy called Bill. And he said that I could sleep in his room. And, later in his bed as well." Which, of course, Paul Stanley found out about. So this kid spent his time with Paul, or somebody else that took care about the kid. And this is a story I haven't told before because I think it's really indecent. But the guy in question is dead, and we have two guys that are dead that were very much into young boys. And I think that this story is important because this is part of what happened in the 60s and the 70s with groupies, with young girls and young boys. That was, how should I put it, not treated in the very best of ways. So that is a story which kind of, it stuck into my mind because I think it's such a terrible story where you are using a young kid's fandom into your own private obsession, and I think that's not nice.
Yeah. Thanks for that story, Bernt. It's awesome at the same time terrible, but it's quite the story. Two things that you talked about that I want to mention is, and this is for Alexander and Nils. Bernt mentioned Anders Tengner. He was once involved in the OK magazine that Bernt showed in the beginning of the show. What do you think he has? Poster also, and later on Rocket, another magazine. Yeah. But what do you think that guy has in his collection? Because he must have done many interviews and had a great contact with the band. Has he told you anything about what he has in his collection? Anything you know about, Nils?
Oh, he at least if he has it still, I don't. We had a lot of tapes, but because I think Carl has been able to go through a lot of his tapes and
Okay.
listen to stuff. From
Carl
what I
Linnaeus.
remember,
You mean Carl Linnaeus?
Yeah, I'm. It could be I'm wrong, but I'm 90% sure that he was able to go through a lot of his stuff. But I guess he has a lot of pictures and stuff. He has posted on Facebook and a lot of pictures from different artists, and but it's like it's not Kiss. He's met so many bands during the years, but he probably has a lot of stuff.
I know that he once said in an interview, he said that he actually had video footage that people had never seen, because he visited, I think it was when they recorded the Hide Your Heart video on the rooftop in LA. He was there and did an article for OK Magazine, and I think he shot a lot of things with his video camera.
Yeah, I think he was babysitting. He was babysitting Nick
at the time. Yeah. And that's footage that no one has ever seen. So and maybe he even has more of that stuff. I have no idea.
But Alexander, can't you need that in your collection? If you pay him a little bit, then you can show it to the world.
I know actually that he sold some stuff as well, because he had more stuff back in the day, and he sold some things. I know, but who knows?
Who knows? The other thing was, Bernt.
Anders, he's living in a big house. He has a large cellar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't say anything more because I haven't been there. But ask Anders. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He probably will let you tour his basement.
The other thing you mentioned was the Destroyer Alive podcast that Nils and Alexander are a part of. You had a great episode with Anders Tengner on that podcast. So, but it's in Swedish, I think. So. Any Swedes out there that haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's a great episode, and he's really giving you a lot of facts that people don't know about. He has a lot of inside information. But can't you tell the folks a little bit about the Destroyer Live podcast? Why did it start? When did it start? What are your goals for the podcast in the future?
Nils.
It actually started. Magnus, the third guy who's on the podcast, actually started it in February 2014, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I talked to him a couple of weeks later when he had been talking alone on 2 episodes that they're not online anymore because he doesn't want them to be online. But I just said, okay, let's do it. We can do this a lot better together than you alone. So Alexander was actually one of the first guests we have, and that worked so well that we asked him to join us. So
yeah, I think I was a guest in maybe episode 5 or something like that, 6 or something like that, and then I was in there, and then I was a little later on. I was asked after I think a few other episodes. I was asked to be a part of the podcast. So yeah. And now we've done 155 episodes or something like that. That's pretty incredible.
We'll get to that, Bernt, in a moment.
Yeah, and I guess from those we probably maybe have 20, 25 in English or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So without knowing it, you're like the godfather of Swedish podcasts. And actually, you're part of the reason why this podcast exists, because I watched you guys and I thought, wow, that seems like a good time. Talking Kiss once in a while for hours with other fans. So I actually mailed Julian Gill and said, why don't we start a KissFAQ podcast and try to do it as often as we can, maybe once a week. And he came through and we started the KissFAQ podcast. But that was mainly because I watched you guys. And I thought, my initial thought was, maybe I should get in touch with those guys and hear if I can be a part of it. But it's like begging on your knees. Can I play with you guys? It didn't feel right. So I thought the Kiss FAQ message board, we have a lot of fans there. Maybe we can get a hold of like 10, 15, 20 people and do podcasts that focuses on different parts of the world, like Scandinavia. We have 4 Scandinavians. South America, we have 4 participants from South America. So that was the initial thought. So this is actually the first time I managed to do that, to have 4 persons from another part of the world than North America. So it's really great to have you guys here, and you're doing an awesome job. And Bernt, you're getting some great feedback here. People like what you said there. So now there's a new podcast in Sweden that you're behind, Bernt. Can you talk a little bit about that podcast? Because I think it's quite interesting, and I've been on one of your episodes and I had a great time.
Yeah, I can say it started with this vlog, Bernt Talks Kiss on Sundays. It started with that because when I made that into YouTube 1 year ago, the reason for it was to gather all the new and exciting Kiss news, and then made sure it was compressed into perhaps 10 minutes or something like that. So that was the general idea. But then I began to interview people, and the vlog got longer and longer, and sometimes 30, 40 minutes instead of just 10 minutes. So I was thinking, we need to do something about this. And I couldn't exactly do another Destroyer Alive vlog, because it's not nice ripping other people off. So I've been thinking about making a podcast, a sound podcast, for almost a year now. Then I got to know a guy called Marko Rovinen. Marko is most famous for making the layout for this Destroyer Alive, because it's magnificent.
No, Destroyer.
Yeah, Destroyer.
Well, it is, but it's alive here in my hand right now. Yeah. Can you see? It's alive. It's alive.
Destroyer magazine.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
Yeah. Anyhow, back to the story. So we went to see something called Car Jam 21, which is a fantastic little thing, which is lots of interesting hard rock people that made an album for their car with 4 songs on it. And we went to their release party, and by some strange incident, I can't understand, they didn't play on their own release party for their album. So Marko and me had lots of time to talk about ideas that we had. And I found out that Marko also, yes, Sam Loomis, let's talk about him later. There's Car Jam. And by some strange coincidence, that picture is from the very same place where Kiss pictures were taken back in 1976. That's on the outdoor museum called Skansen, which is next door to Gröna Lund, where they played back in 1976. Anyhow, so we were thinking about perhaps making a podcast, but we wanted to do an easy podcast, just like conversations about Kiss, not interviews, not anything heavy, just talking about Kiss. So that's why the name is Let Me Know, because we are very curious people and we want to know about everything. All the questions that we ever had, we're trying to somehow answer. Like, how come that Kiss fans are just male and between 45 and 55? How come? And we have discovered that's not true, because we found the women, the female Kiss fans, we found them. We found generation of Kiss fans, like 3 generations that are Kiss fans. We have interviewed them. No, we didn't do any interviews. We had a conversation about it. So I think that is also a reason for why you should teach yourself Swedish. Not only for the books, for the wonderful magazines, but to let you know about what we will let me know, or you know, or who knows. So it's we made the 30th episode yesterday, and that is only since this fall. Sorry, this spring, fall, whatever. So, but and from what we have heard, this is such an interesting subject because some people are complaining about like vlogs are too long, but here it's not a problem because when you feel that you have listened enough, you press pause and you come back when you have the time. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. Well, the Let Me Know podcast is available, so go and listen to it. But you actually talked a lot about the KISS fanzine that's called Destroyer
magazine.
Destroyer magazine, yeah. And as you can see here, we have a few slides from that magazine. Nils, what do you say about the KISS Destroyer magazine? Do you enjoy it as well, even though you're Norwegian?
Yeah, and in one way, it's let's say 20 years ago we used to have both KISS Army Norway and KISS Army Sweden, but now I feel more or less that the KISS Army Sweden embraces both countries really. So
we should actually say that the Swedish people and Norwegian people understand each other pretty well. For all of you in America who don't know that, so we understand each other pretty well. So,
yeah. It's much worse it's much harder to understand a Danish.
Yeah, it is.
From Denmark, I have no clue at times.
Hey, I have no problem with understanding Danish. I spoke with Danes many times.
You have to remember, I'm from the Great White North, so
me
a
neither,
long way down to Copenhagen.
Me neither, but I'm half Danish, so that's
okay. That's even worse. Oh my! You're getting some feedback on the museum here from Steinman. What an amazing collection!
Thank you very much.
You need to go bring that one on tour up north as well. We need it in. I know a place in Luleå where you could actually get it into. They're pretty, into rock and music. I'll have to show that video for them.
Let me know about it. Let me know about it.
Yeah, but back to the Destroyer magazine. Here we have an article about Sam Loomis. That was a great few weeks when he released a lot of KISS stuff. But what do you say about the magazine, Bernt? Why is it so good? How is it possible to have this kind of magazine at this point of time when magazines have such a big problem staying alive?
It is very, very... how should I put it? The answer is very, very easy. It has to do with a couple of things. First of all, we have Marko Rovinen. Yes, Mr. AB, that's a Finnish name. I can read the chat here. And he has been a layout designer since the 90s. So this is his, how should I put it? It's his baby when it comes to the layout and the design. But there's lots of people, fans, KISS fans, that every now and then they are writing articles, and the articles are like, it's heavy, they're deep. It's not like, hey, we went to see KISS, they were great. So we have a special here about the tour, what I think is the last tour that was in Scandinavia and in Helsinki. Helsinki is in the Nordic countries. And I think it's well written. So they have a chief editor that is a guy called Ronny Lundell, and he's new at this post. And then, of course, we have KISS Army Sweden, which has a president called Niklas Olsson, and he has been the president for such a long time. And the thing is that they are making this fancy because it is a professional fancy, and that means the thing is that this is one of the few printed papers about Kiss that's left, and it's published.
I think it's the last real fanzine also left.
Yeah, but look at it. Look at it.
But,
but
one aspect that is really important also, I don't think this could happen anywhere else than in Scandinavia, because I think if you see the compared to the population in Sweden and Norway, I would guess that Kiss is compared to how many people who live here, it's the most fans per population also. So I think Kiss fandom is much higher in especially Sweden and Norway than the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I would say that Sweden and Scandinavia is probably Kiss's biggest market outside of America. Maybe Japan as well, but otherwise,
maybe I would probably say Germany also. Germany is quite, but if you see per population, it's easily Sweden and Norway.
Yeah, and let's not forget that all the material in this magazine is exclusive for this magazine. You can't read it anywhere else.
But what if you're an American and you may want to get a hold of this magazine? Is it possible?
Yeah, I know, sure. But then
how do you go about to get a copy of this one?
I should say that the easiest is, of course, to look up the kissarbysweden.net, because there is where you have all the. I have to look at the magazine to be sure.
Or find in Kiss Army Sweden Destroyer magazine on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you have it as well. So
that would probably easier than ask there how to.
Let me say that this issue that we have here.
You need to put it more in the middle so we can see it. Somewhere there.
It's 52 pages, man.
Yeah.
52 bonanza pages with Kiss. Think about that. It's like, all night.
Yeah.
What is this article about? Paul and this guy that he seems to know, Bernt.
I have no clue at all. I mean,
I have no clue.
I wear glasses. I mean, I can see it says slut, but it's not American slut.
No, slut is the end, sort of.
It's different in Swedish.
Bill Tuani, who used to play with Paul Stanley and what's called Baby Boom, the band that was on the first box set. And he visited Paul during the show in Gothenburg, I think, and he lives in Oslo, in Norway.
Okay.
And he plays in a blues band and tells about his band and playing at Notodden. I think I know he's played at Notodden, at least the blues festival. It's one of the most famous blues festivals in the world, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's an awesome looking magazine. I hope people really get that one if they have the possibility. And even Americans, I mean, even if you don't understand the text, I think it's something to flicker through. Look at the layout, look at the pictures. You can use Translate, Google Translate if there's something you really want to know. So
learn Swedish.
As Bernt says, learn Swedish. Learn it now.
Yeah.
Actually, Bernt, we have a question for you, Bernt.
Yeah.
And this is the question if you read at the bottom of the page. Question for Bernt. How was it being a fan during 76 to 80 between the band's tours? How much coverage of the band was there? And how did you stay informed about their music and activities?
Then, of course, the question we have to find out, is he talking to me as the fan club president back then, or are we talking about me as just a fan? We can answer it in two ways.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, when it comes to being a fan, you need to use the old noodle, your fantasy, because there were no internet, no cell phones, no videos on Swedish TV, no nothing. The only thing you had was what was in your head. So you needed to look at the Alive album and get really about it. And then, of course, not to forget Alive 2 and the stuff in the middle, because back then we thought this was the shit. This was what happened all the time during a Kiss concert, the entire 2 hours. So basically, we read a magazine called Tiffany, which of course Hans Hartvig made as well. That was pre-poster. And so everything happened. That's what we needed, fantasy back then. And then, of course, we had those big posters that we put on our walls and in the ceiling. So that was the most important thing. And that's why I thought it was really important to start a fan club in Sweden early. Yeah. So basically, that's what it's all about. Having a fan club. And that, of course, was me back then. And then, of course, have a real good imagination, especially.
But besides that, it's like as a fan, the big information point for us were poster and later really besides the fan club.
Yeah. And I think also one of the reasons why Kiss became so big and popular in Sweden was actually the poster magazine, because the poster magazine was even if I wasn't there back then, but the poster magazine was enormous in those days, and popular. So that was a big reason why I think Kiss became as popular as they became.
Yeah, and then okay in the 80s they made out Kiss to be the biggest band in the world.
Oh yeah,
they had great articles, great photos, kind of fun texts that went along with the pictures and the rest of it. But I mean, I read okay in the 80s, and even all the way through 92 through the Revenge, they had some great articles and great. I remember they had a competition in 1990 where they sent people over to watch Kiss live in Madison Square Garden. It was like awesome.
Yeah, a lot of
Anders Tegnér that we talked about earlier. He was the man behind that. So Alexander, you tried to say something there.
No,
Alexander.
but OK had a lot of exclusive stuff back then. They had great contacts with all the bands and all the artists and everything. So. It was a great time,
Actually, it's really strange because Hans Hartvig actually hyped Kiss even more than Kiss hyped themselves.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
he
true.
did. So,
But we need not to forget the photographers like Finn Costello, Bob Gruen, Barry Levine, Lynn Goldstein,
Goldsmith.
Thank you. Yeah, and there was a couple of more photographers back in the early days, because thanks to them, Hans Hartvig could hype, as you said, Kiss even more than Kiss has hyped himself. I don't know how that is possible, but it was back then.
But mainly it did most of the things in poster were Finn Costello and Barry Levine pictures. Most of it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now we've done like an hour. Should we keep going or do we do
a part sure. Why not? A little bit longer.
Should we take the book covers or?
You mean the book covers that you've been
doing?
Let's do them. Nils, you might not know this, but Nils has been a part of really quite a few book covers through the years.
Mostly Julian's books.
Yeah, mostly Julian. So that's perfect for this show. Can you just maybe you can show us a few of the covers and explain your thoughts behind? What kind of ideas did you have when you made the covers? What are you trying to get through to the audience with the covers and so on?
The first one was really the out on the streets.
Oh, okay, that one.
This one, that was competition, and I won that Not
What do you mean? Did they ask?
pretty easily.
But did they ask for a cover and people were able to send in their suggestions or what?
Yeah, and I did this one just for fun, really.
Okay.
It's a great
You
cover. It's a great cover.
So that was back in.
Can you show it a little bit closer to the camera? Maybe we can see it a little bit better. Yeah, that's the one. Smalling and the rest of the guys. Moose.
Yeah.
The first I did for Julian was the first version of the Soul album book.
Oh,
yeah, that's a great one. But why did it change that one?
It changed to this one, and
it was much worse. I think it's much worse. The first one is.
I agree, but why?
Show them both. What's the difference? The cover is the same.
No, yeah, but the faces are not the same.
Ah, okay, the face is not the same.
But why
like the first one?
Why we did that? I'm not really sure if we can tell, and if
okay, we have to.
If we can tell, Julian have to tell it.
Okay,
Julian.
But this is the original.
Go for it.
You can say okay.
No, I'm not sure. I think he said go for it. Do more than 1 hour.
It's like Lynn Goldsmith got really pissed because I think I used 2 of her pictures as reference, and she's been going real hard after stuff like that. If she had a big thing with the Warhol Foundation because Andy Warhol had used one of her pictures, and I think it went to court and everything, and she actually won. So,
sorry about that.
So that's why we changed it. She told she said that all the pictures was hers, but actually 2 of them are Barry Levine. Actually, 2 of them are Barry Levine pictures. So it's like
so from what you're saying, you're not a big fan of Lynn Goldsmith, you know.
Not the way she did it. I was on vacation in Spain, so and it's like it was not like please take it away. It was like I'm gonna sue you. The first message was I'm gonna sue you.
Okay.
That's not nice. That's not the Swedish way or the
That's not the Swedish way.
Not Scandinavian way at all.
Not the Scandinavian way.
The Scandinavian way is like.
Could you please?
Yeah, the Scandinavian way is more diplomatic, I think.
Yeah, could we please resolve this?
Yeah. How do we go about solving this?
Yeah.
That's a more Scandinavian.
And the second one I did was the Odyssey.
That's a great cover. Oh my! That's a great cover.
Julian and Tim's. The first one is Julian and Tim also, even if it just says Julian on the cover. But this one, it's the first one is actually more or less 100% my creation. Besides the names, here Julian probably had a little bit more input. I don't remember, but if we were talking about some stairs and a kid on the top, but I preferred doing it like this, so it ends up like me what I say in a way. So, and the third one was. And both those are mixed art. So it's both drawings and Photoshop. It's the way I usually work. So the same here on the third one I did.
Yeah, I just read that one.
And this one quite fast, really. So and the last one I did was the Vault book. That's just Photoshop, and both. It's actually my vault on
okay.
And just the part here is from the Gene Simmons poster from the poster 77 poster, where he stands on the cube. So that's the covers I've made, and I actually there will be at least one book coming next year. That's not Julian's books, but
okay. Can you give us any information on that, or is it top secret?
It's a Swede and a guy living in Japan.
Okay. That's kind of interesting, because we've got a lot of books out of Japan lately from Elaine, you know. I think he's written like 3 books and he's been working together with a Swedish guy. I don't know his name. Per Strid, yes.
Per Strid is a really good friend of mine, and
he seems like a cool guy. I've just seen some interviews with him, and I really like what he's saying.
Alain was actually in our cabin on the last cruise I went on.
He seems like a genuine nice guy.
Yeah.
I've spoken to him a few times, but he seems so nice. Okay, let's go to.
It is more like me. We're not so nice.
Yeah.
I have a question, or maybe let's put it like this. This is not written in the script, I can tell you. But since you put me on the show, you know what I do with scripts. I just toss them away.
Yeah.
I have one thing. Since we are talking with Americans now, I have 2 suggestions that I would like to do when it comes to either the pod, Let Me Know, or with the vlog, Bernt Talks Kiss on Sundays, and that is to interview Vinnie Vincent. And why? Because, and now I will put my chin out, I think that as long as you don't mix him with business, I think he's a very nice guy. And I interviewed him in Oulu in Finland back in 1983, which you can find both on the podcast and, if you look carefully enough, on Bernt Talks Kiss on Sundays. And I would like to find out what has happened with him since 1983, when we sat in Finland talking about snow and Kiss and LGBTQ, I think, question I would like to talk with him about, because I'm very involved in those subjects in Sweden. And I have one more thing I would like to do. Back in the same tour in 1983, I met Gene Simmons in Brussels in Belgium, and it was a late night, and we were talking about Swedish småkakor. And you, Daniel, that are better than English than I am, what the heck is Swedish småkakor in English?
Småkakor, I don't even know what it is in Swedish. We don't eat that kind of shit up here.
Oh yeah, you do. Oh yes, you do.
Old
Because-
people do. They drink
old people's cookies.
Yeah, it's both me and Gene are very much in love with them, because I spoke dearly about those when we were in Brussels. So he got so interested, so he went to the bar and said, "Could you please have some Belgian cookies?" And the only thing they had, there was stuff that you put in an ice cream cone, not cone, but the big ones that you can put anything in, like wafers and stuff like that. So anyhow, I would like to meet Gene Simmons one more time and try out the small Swedish cookies together with him, testing 7 of them.
Oh yeah, he loves the cookies. But what about this then? I've always listened to podcasts and interviews with musicians, and I wonder what you guys think about this. Did Kiss influence Scandinavian music to any extent? What do you have to? I mean, do you think that Kiss played a big part in some of the bands that are popular today, or has been popular in previous years? What do
Oh
you
yes,
say,
a lot.
Alexander?
That happens all the time. I think when you hear interviews with Scandinavian bands, and there's a lot of people who picked up guitars because of Ace Frehley, or they started to play drums because they heard especially Peter's drum solo from Alive. So I would say that yes, they influenced a lot of Scandinavian bands and musicians, and even bands that may not be the biggest ones, but a lot of musicians were influenced by Kiss for sure.
Yeah,
I remember an interview with that guy from the Helicopters who plays the guitar. Dregen, I think it's called. I think
Okay.
I mean Dregen.
Yeah,
Okay, both play
of them
guitar.
are
Yeah,
major Kiss fans.
maybe both of them. And he said like Kiss was a bigger influence on most of the kids my age than ABBA, ABBA ever was. Nils, what do you have to say about that? In Norway, especially. Think
Yeah, but
Kiss
I think it's more the same. I think most rock and hard rock musicians from between 30 and the late 50s are influenced by Kiss in one way or the other, really. Even you have big groups like what's Norwegian's harder, especially the black metal groups from Norway, and I know it because I were there when the first big black metal group in Norway called Mayhem started, and
they're really famous.
all those guys were close friends to me at the time. I even rehearsed on some of the first rehearsals with them.
You were Mayhem's first singer.
Yeah, actually for a month.
No way.
Yeah, he was.
But
Yes, way.
But
That's pretty
I
cool.
also Øystein, the guy who was killed. He was a friend of mine from second grade until a year before he died. We fell out, but he was a major Kiss fan. Also, most people were really major Kiss fans, and you have it like Sweden. It's like the bands like probably most Americans have heard of, like Ghost.
Yeah,
They're really influenced by Kiss.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also bands like In Flames and those bands as well. I mean, most of the bands were influenced in one way or the other by Kiss for sure. They were.
What do you say? Was it the music or was it the look that influenced?
I think it was a combination, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the look was important. I mean, if I talk for myself, I became a fan of the band by just seeing the guys, a picture of Kiss, and I became a fan of the band. And then I started to listen to the band, and my fandom got even bigger. But I think that's the way it worked with this band. That you maybe first saw a picture.
But you became a fan in the mid '80s. Heavens on Fire song.
Yeah, but I saw old photos of the band, or I got hold of the Destroyer album cover early on, and I mean that was like, that was like I don't know, childhood dream or whatever, to see that album cover, and that was like being in the middle of a Marvel Comics or something. So for sure.
Mm-hmm. Bernt. What about?
I'm sitting thinking. First of all, I'm thinking about Cargen 21, where you have real big Kiss fans. You have fans from, of course, you have Dregen, which you already mentioned. Then you have Electric Boys, and we have me and my terrible memory. But if you look at Cargen 21, there you have a whole bunch of Swedish and Norwegian and one American. Then you have Erik Grönvall, which is a big Kiss fan, and he is now a member of Skid Row,
and he's doing excellent.
Yeah. So and the thing is that if you are trying to look at covers of Kiss songs, and I'm not talking about Forever and Smith for Lemmy, etc. But there's a lot of Swedish covers when it comes to Kiss songs. And then, of course, we have one of my favorites, that is Nanne Grönvall, which is married to Benny Andersson's son. And she made a cover of which song? Anyone?
I don't know. Heaven's on
no
Fire?
idea.
No.
Yeah. And it's a heavy one. It's almost heavier than the Kiss version. But so it's a lot of Swedish musicians that has some kind of influence when it comes to Kiss.
Ben, do you know what my favorite song is with Nanne Grönvall? She was actually participating in a program that was called, I think it was called Doobie Doo.
Yeah.
And she, in that program, in that TV program, they played covers, and she did an awesome version of the old Swedish tune, doing the Omoralisk Schlagerfestival. That's
Okay,
Swedish.
you are talking about.
It's about the greatest version I've ever heard of that song.
Yeah,
But
and the guy who made the original version. Let's try this on our English-speaking friends. His guy was called Sillstryparen, the herring strangler. Try that for size. The herring strangler.
Wrangler. Yeah, that's a cool name.
Sillstryparen.
But I think all people who aren't Scandinavian who listen to this, if you're going to listen to a band that really has a lot of Kiss influences in the music that are really good, everybody should listen to the Helicopters.
Yeah.
Because both, at least Nicke and Dregen, are big Kiss fans, and that for me it's like Nicke is a house god. It's just like I can speak to I've spoken to Gene, Paul, Alice Cooper, Lemmy over the years, and I've never been fan struck. But it's like every time I meet Nicke, I just
Okay.
so,
Can't speak.
no. So the Helicopters is probably on my top 3 list of best bands ever. So
Okay, that's interesting. So all in all, we have to say that Kiss has influenced Scandinavian music quite a lot, quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
And it's
For sure.
pretty obvious that Kiss has done this all the way through the 70s and onwards. So Kiss has been a major influence on Swedish music. And Swedish music, I don't know if the American knows this, but we are a major player when it comes to selling music abroad. We have a lot of great, big, popular artists all the time coming out of Sweden. Thank you Kiss, for that.
So all Americans who's saying rock is dead, they should listen to Scandinavian and European bands. Rock is still alive in Europe.
For sure.
Yeah, and you know, when you live in America, it's such a big country. I mean, I'm not sure how many Americans that has actually seen Kiss in another country, in a different country. Maybe they've gone over the border to Canada, and that's about it. But when it comes to at least Alexander, you've been traveling the world, so to speak.
Quite a lot, actually.
Following Kiss, and you love traveling, and you love watching Kiss, and you've combined those two. Can you tell us a bit about your Kiss travels?
Yeah, I mean that's a great combination, you know, to travel and explore the world, and you know, why not seeing Kiss at the same time? So that's a great combination. So that my traveling really started around the reunion tour, I would say. You know, it started off there, or maybe a little later, the Psycho Circus tour, reunion tour. So the first time I went to the States was actually in 1998, and I went with a friend to New York, the New York area, to see Kiss. I was lucky enough to see the original band in Madison Square Garden, so that was a really cool thing. Since then, I've seen Kiss in Australia. I've been, seen them all over the America.
Alexander, did you go to Australia in 2001?
I did. I saw the full
Yeah.
tour, the 8 shows.
So
in
you
Australia.
saw Ace and Eric.
Yes, and that's
Yeah,
a great
wow.
lineup. That's a very strange lineup actually, because you have Eric Singer and you got Ace and you got Gene and Paul. So that's it's a lineup that didn't last long.
But Alexander, when you watched them, you were
Yeah.
there, 2001. Eric
Yeah.
in Peter's makeup. What did you think?
It was controversial at the time. And the weird thing is that we found out about it quite late, actually, because someone told me that I don't remember when they advertised the tour and everything, but maybe it was. I think the tour was like in the spring of 2001, and the tour was probably advertised in like late 2000 or something. And there were rumors that Peter haven't signed his contract or something, or re-signed his contract. There were some rumors about it, but then I thought, well, they're going to play Australia. What's going to happen? They're going to cancel the tour, or what's going to happen? But then a friend of mine who this guy Nicholas, who's the president of Kiss Army Sweden, he went with me on that tour with two other friends as well, and he he just called me and said, you know what? It was almost like, are you sitting down? What?
Mhm.
You're not going to believe this, but Eric Singer has joined the band and he's going to wear Peter's makeup.
Oh
And I
my.
said, what? And that was very, very controversial at the time, because I said, what? He's going to use Peter's makeup. But then I remember when we went to the first show in Perth, and I have seen the band the year before in 2000 in America. And Peter's drumming was it was okay, but it's a huge difference between Peter's drumming and Eric Singer's drumming. And I will never forget when I heard that first opening of Detroit Rock City in Perth in 2001, and when Eric started to play. It was like a different band. It was such a big difference. And once I saw it and this saw it live there, I had no problem with it.
Okay.
But I had no problem with it. But
For me, it was. Yeah, continue, Alex.
No, but it was controversial, and for sure, it was. But on the other hand, Eric also had a history in the band, because he was there, the Revenge tour and so far. So, and before the reunion tour. So, it was not a new guy. It was just an old guy that they put in makeup. I guess.
Do you guys remember that first picture that they posted of Eric Singer? It didn't look quite right. Yeah.
He had really short hair at the time, so
didn't look quite right. But for me personally, I have to say it was a step up for Kiss. I never really liked Peter Criss when he came back into the band, because I think he played subpar. Even maybe it was okay through 96, but after that it wasn't that good. So I think it was good for the band. But
he was playing.
It was more controversial when Tommy. What, Nils?
He was playing like this.
Yeah.
I had actually bigger problems with Tommy joining the band.
Oh yeah, I never liked that.
Because I liked this lineup with Ace and Eric so much. So I had much bigger problem with Tommy.
Yeah,
but
Tommy was like this guy from the street. You didn't even know who he was. He was he had been Black and Blue or something. But that felt kind of strange. Yeah. And I vividly remember. I think it was the symphony that aired on, I don't know, on some channel. And one of my friends said, who wasn't a big fan, man, Ace seems to have stepped it up. He seems to be, he doesn't seem that sloppy and lazy anymore. Yeah. That's not Ace, I said. But that was the thing. People didn't know it was another guy.
And also one of the fun things about going, traveling to see Kiss is that sometimes you go to some really odd places or countries you wouldn't go to if it wasn't for this. So all you Americans also know that there's a war between Russia and Ukraine. And I have seen Kiss in both Russia and Ukraine. And it's not that long ago. I went to Russia in 2017 the first time, and also the second time in 2019. And I saw Kiss in Ukraine in 2019. So that when you see pictures from Ukraine now and everything, it feels really weird that I have been there just like 3 years ago. I was there, and back then it was like a nice country and everything. And that feels kind of weird.
That's really interesting. Did you feel any difference between, being in Russia and Ukraine, the atmosphere, the people,
Oh, yeah.
the way things were?
When I was in Ukraine, they hate Russian people. For sure. You could tell when you were there. And you could tell when you were in Ukraine in 2019. You could tell that Ukraine wanted to be a part of Europe. They didn't want anything to do with Russia, and they were very. They wanted to show that they could speak English, and they were very, they wanted to be a part of Europe, and you could really tell for sure.
But what about Russia then? When you were there?
When I was in Russia, you could really tell that it's not, you can't really tell. You can't really say when you're in Russia what you really want. You could really tell when you talk to people. They were a little bit, pushed down. For sure. You could really tell when you were there. And that's my expression anyway of it. And for sure,
Not to forget one thing, that is, it's not a war between them. Russia invaded.
Russia invaded. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we keep that record straight.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was my fault. I said it the wrong way, but for sure.
Well, it's the second language. It's not that easy,
No.
So sånt händer, as we should have said in Swedish.
Yeah, but
in Swedish we would have said that.
In every war, somebody has to start it. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I ask the guys one question regarding makeup and stuff like that? Because since I'm such an old guy, I remember that. Yeah, no, I'm not that old. Just teasing. But the thing is, back in the days when they still had a makeup on from the very, very beginning, and when Eric came, we were so interested in to find out what's his character going to be, what's his persona, and when we all know that they were trying different things out, and finally he became the Fox. So every time they changed a member, they changed the persona, and back then. They didn't think about anything else than just change the persona because it's a different person. But after Kiss came back in full makeup, then it was not like Peter, Ace, Jean, and Paul. It was the Catman, the demon, just back in 1974-73. When we didn't know exactly their names, not that much anyhow. So I was thinking about how do you feel about that? It's just the Catman and the Spaceman instead of changing the persona to something that is more them.
I think that the characters is more important than the persons, in a way.
Oh yes.
I think so. I mean, I think the characters is more important than who's behind the makeup, because if you see
at this point of time,
at this point of time, because if you see in the when it comes to marketing and everything, it's the demon, it's the cat, it's the spaceman or whatever. I mean, it's I think that part of the image it's much stronger than if it's Eric or if it's Peter wearing the makeup. But I was actually,
for me, it's the only thing that would work in a way. So it's like it's a big difference between a band that's been together for 9-10 years and a legacy, more or less legacy band after 20-30 years. That it's a big difference.
Yeah. But I was actually watching and thinking about that today. Actually, I have a picture on my wall when I met the band in 2017. And in 2017, they had the Creatures outfits. And it's pretty funny when you see Eric, because Eric Singer has Eric Carr's outfit wearing Peter's makeup.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
That's kind of weird, It's a mix between three people when you see that picture. And that's kind of weird, If you think about it for a long time, that's kind of weird.
We Kiss fans, we have seen it all. We've seen it all.
Oh,
and I mean, But what about the latest tour they did through Scandinavia? I know I met Bernt briefly in Stockholm, and he went on to see them in Gothenburg. And I also think that Nils and Alexander, you watched several Kiss shows on the European leg of the tour. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you thought about it? Because I can just start because I was so pleasantly surprised. It was much better than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
The latest show, the show previously I went to was Trondheim in Norway. I actually might go back to Norway in June. I saw Motley Crue and Def Leppard were going to play there, so we'll see if I go there. It's not too far from here, but I watched them there on a festival, and I thought it was kind of okay. And then I went to, the Tele2 Arena. I think it was somewhere around 30,000 people sold out. A great show. And by this point of time, you've kind of accepted that Paul has a little bit of help. But I still thought it was one of the better shows I've seen with the band. I don't know if I was like hypnotized or something.
No,
but it was great.
The tour last summer was great. It was much better than I could expect it, actually. And I had a little bit before the tour. I had a little problem with motivation, to be honest, because it hadn't been any shows for such a long time because of the corona pandemic. And so, but once I got there, it was great. And I saw 10 shows last summer, and I picked some countries that I haven't been to. So I saw them in Romania, I saw them in Hungary, I saw them in Croatia. And I also saw them in Belgium, and also in France, in Paris, because I haven't seen Kiss there before. So I picked some countries that I haven't been to.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's nice, and it was great to see them in the eastern part of Europe. It's not
But
often.
Alexander, I just have to ask you a question. Do you travel alone when you do this kind of stuff? You just go
No,
by
actually, I travel a lot with another guy called Nicholas. Nicholas Lidholt. He has even tried. I've seen Kiss, I think, in 28 countries or something like that. And Nicholas Lidholt have seen him way over 30 countries. He's seen him in a lot more countries than I have. So, but I travel a lot with him and his girlfriend, and sometimes I go by myself as well. I haven't really no problems with that, to travel by myself. But these days, there's been really, some problems with chaos at some airports this time around, and some flights got canceled and stuff like that. So this summer it was really hard to travel, and if I'm gonna travel, it has to be fun, and this time it was a little hard, to be honest, to travel, but it worked pretty okay. But it is, we'll see what happens in the future.
But just another question. People, I just watched the latest episode of the KissFAQ podcast, and they still talk about the set list. Why don't they add stuff? What do you guys think about the set list? And they're playing the classics. Would you like to see them play different songs, Ben?
Absolutely, but I would like to answer the question before.
Let's start with that.
Yeah, could you possibly bring up the Destroyer magazine cover again and zoom
it takes 10
into
seconds.
and then zoom into the part down to the right, and I'll show you guys something.
Which article?
No, it's the front cover.
Yeah.
The front cover. I don't have the front cover.
Don't you have that?
No, he didn't. Marco didn't send it to me. So sorry, I can't do that.
Okay.
But I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, because
I can download it maybe.
Okay.
Give him the whole picture or something.
Yeah. Anyhow, this is.
You're behind the comment.
Let's see here. No, it's a lot of stuff. Bernt is such a pain in the.
Yeah, of course I know that. You know that. That's why you put me on here.
That's why I need you on this show. Let's see here. Let's kill that one first. Where is it now? that one, remove that one, and then we put. Let's see if we can
Marco just sent the cover to us.
Let's see.
Let's see now if we can.
It's in Messenger, Daniel.
Okay, I go and get it.
Yeah, because the thing is that I haven't seen that many Kiss concerts during the years because of my Kiss depression, so I'm like a virgin. But I saw the concerts in Stockholm, which I enjoyed, and I most certainly enjoyed the concert in Gothenburg. And Nils knows that because he was there and he saw me. And at the same time, when I was totally spaced out in my own private Kiss universe, they snapped a picture, and the picture is the cover of Destroyer magazine, and that's why you need to show that part.
Just give me a minute. I'm almost there.
And
I see you.
And I discovered new things as well. I totally fell in love with Deuce because for the first time I heard the bass line in Deuce, and I enjoyed it so much. And I was trying to find that bass line, but the thing is, people that are recording concerts, they don't get the bass. The bass is lost somehow. And the only Kiss album that I found this bass line is on Alive 3. So I began to love Alive 3 again. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Let's see if we can see me. If you look down...
I remove that comment. Just wait a minute. Told you I had a lot to keep track of.
The picture is fantastic. Look at that.
It's a great cover.
Yeah.
Is that Gothenburg?
Yeah, it's
this is Gothenburg.
It's Marco and me in front of Bernt taking. And Marco is taking a picture backwards, and
a lucky shot.
Yeah.
So, but anyhow, I don't know if you can see me, but down to the right, that's me, and I'm totally spaced out. I'm not there.
No, you look like you're in awe of the Kiss sign there. Oh my God.
So that's why I thought this was important to show again. Thank you, Marco, for bringing this up. So
it's an incredible picture.
Yeah, it's like the inner sleeve of Alive 2. It reminds me of that. So
but to answer your question, Daniel, yes, I would like to have other songs as well.
What do you want to hear?
I'm more like the stuff that they usually play when it comes to Kiss, the Kiss cruises, more like deep cuts. But I know that I'm going to make a lot of unfriends now, because the normal Kiss fans, they would like to hear the same songs all over again, just like my kids when they were small, and they only wanted to listen to the stories that they have heard a trillion times before. But I'm interested in other stuff, new stuff, maybe stuff from Monster, maybe stuff from albums that they don't play, and it's like this, that all the songs from the unmakeup years. I mean, today it's Bruce Kulick that's playing them, and he's playing them so good, so real good. I would like to see Kiss in makeup play unmakeup songs. That's me, in a nutshell.
The problem is that
Alexander.
The problem is that very, very old songs doesn't work for an arena audience. That's a problem.
I know that.
Because when they play, I don't remember now. I think when they played like a song like "Tears Are Falling" on the last tour, that I can honestly tell there was a lot of people that haven't heard that song at all. So that's what you can tell for the reaction from the audience, So that's the problem with an arena audience, that you can't really, you can't really play, two odd songs because people people haven't heard it.
No, I have a vivid memory from '97 when I went to 2 concerts in Stockholm, Stockholm Stadium. I think there were 35,000 each night. It was great. Everyone in the city was dressed like Kiss, and it was like this vibe. It's never been topped since. And we went to the arena, and we saw 4 guys that looked like the cover of Dress to Kill. Perfect makeup, suits, walking around there looking slick. So we went up to them. Let's sing some song, and we started "Paris a Lady," and they just looked at us. What the hell are you singing? They had never heard the song. So that's, you have to keep in mind that when you have an arena audience, 80% only know like
The classics.
5 Kiss songs, or yeah. So I don't have a problem with them playing. I had a few years back, but now I don't have a problem with them playing just the same old. I don't see them. I can't see them putting in,
16.
Christine 16 or stuff like that. No, I'm okay with it. Nils.
Yeah, but for me, it's more like I'm also prefer the classics now. They're on their deathbed, but it's like I would like them to change a little bit around. It's like you just put in songs like "Come On and Love Me," "I Stole Your Love," and stuff like that in the set list, and at least now Paul can sing them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, magically. Yeah.
So that, but
okay.
It's like if I should hear something, it would be strange things that we have heard on the small tidbits of on the cruise before, like Unmasked and something, and that won't happen at a big show anyway. So then I'd rather have "Come On and Love Me," "I Stole Your Love," or some. Yeah, but it won't happen really.
"I Stole Your Love" is one of the songs that they should play more often now that he has some help. It's such a great opener. But we have some questions for the audience. Maybe we have to say to the audience, you've been a great part of the show. You've asked many good questions. Let's address some of them. The first one, I saw a few comments back. What song made you a Kiss fan? Alexander, you said "Heavens on Fire."
It was.
For me, it was clearly "Heavens on Fire." What about Nils then?
It's difficult to say, but I got on the same day in March when I first really listened to Kiss. I got "Destroyer" and "Hotter Than Hell" on the same day, so it could probably be in Detroit Rock City, I guess.
Detroit Rock City. Bernt?
I must say it's all of the songs from "Hotter Than Hell," because back then I haven't heard any singles whatsoever. So I can see it's all the heavy drums on "Got to Choose," "Watching You," etc., etc. So I mean, that album is magic. Totally.
And I think
I 100% agree.
You guys have talked on your podcast about the second wave of Kiss Scandinavian fans.
That's me.
Bernt, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the second wave, that's exactly the guys, the men that are between 45 and 55 years old. Yeah. And they have one favorite album, and that is a favorite album that I don't have. And that is, Daniel.
Is it Animalize?
Yeah, that's Animalize.
But I would call that the third wave.
Yeah, but then the pod that we did yesterday with a father and daughter, we found out it must be, at least from the way that you are counting, it must be a fourth wave. That means that the people that have seen Kiss for the first time in 2017 and 22, perhaps their favorite album is, wait for it, Monster.
Is
Okay.
Really?
I don't think so.
I really don't think so.
If you had said Sonic Boom, I could probably believe you, but Monster, no.
Because if we talk about age, And when the album was released, then it must be Monster for the last wave, or the right now the last wave. But when I've tried that question on other people, they've said, Monster, you are nuts, man. You're totally nuts. No, I'm just trying out some thoughts and ideas, because when you have a podcast and you know that
That's your thing.
You need to try things out.
But actually, if you talk about waves, you at least had 3 waves. The first one that you came in on in 75, 76, and then you have the 79, 80 wave.
I was made, maybe.
Yeah. And then you have the 84 wave.
Yeah, for sure.
Because for me, I was my first years with Kiss was really heavy, and it was like I was really die hard, and I really, for me, Animalize is the worst Kiss studio album.
The worst.
The worst, actually.
No way. No way.
I had Enough Into the Fire is one of the best Kiss songs. The rest of the album. And I'll take Monster. No, not Monster, but the Sonic Boom 10 times over Animalize. So,
well, that's interesting.
That's kind of interesting. Sonic Boom, I think, was a great effort. They tried to do something. They had a plan. They had an idea, and they had a few good songs on there. Monster, I never got really. I never got Monster. I kind of liked the Eric Singer song, but that was more like a cover. If you heard the original, For the Love of Rock and Roll, it's very close to the original from another band.
Yeah.
But I like that song, and I like the single. What was it? Hell or Hallelujah. It's kind of a I Stole Your Love rip-off, kind of trying to do modern day Delia once again. But other than that, I have a hard time remembering the rest of the album. What do you think about Monster, Nils?
The problem is Monster that it's really difficult to tell how good the album is, because there's a sound wall there that destroys the whole album. The mastering is terrible. It's like you get tired of listening to it for more than a couple of songs. It's like, I don't remember if it's one of the Paul songs. I don't remember if it's Freak or what's the second? Not Hell Hallelujah, but there's some hand clapping there, and you can hear it. It's really far in the background, but it's like if you had a different good mastering or something like that, if it was some kind of air in the mastering and the mixing it, you would hear a lot of things. So for me, it's difficult to tell how good the songs are.
Could it be, by any chance, that sometimes Kiss puts out the wrong album at the wrong time, like
a few years too late?
Yeah, like Carnival of Souls. If that was, because if I listen to that album today, I kind of enjoy it, but I didn't.
Me too.
Back in the days.
No. But it came out in a total wrong time when all the focus was on the reunion Kiss. And then the Carnival of Souls album came out, so that was a total wrong time. So sadly,
and it has it's not the mastering there, but it has the same problem as Monster. The sound, it's like you're listening to an album through cotton.
Perhaps.
But there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good songs there, but the production is. If you had the Carnival Souls with the production,
Revenge.
Bob Esser did on Revenge, it would be a completely different album.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I do enjoy hate the first song, but at the same time the sound isn't quite there. And one of my personal favorites that no one else seems to enjoy is a song that reminds me kind of a Dress to Kill song, and that's Take a Look in the Mirror. That's a great Paul song. Even though the lyrics are kind of down, I enjoy that song. So there's a few gems on Carnival of Souls as well.
What's the best about Carnival of Souls is that Paul Stanley wrote a song about the song he's singing, and it's it's called "It Never Goes Away."
That's a slow one. Oh,
Oh.
my
That's
God.
that's one of the worst Kiss songs I know about, and it will never go away.
That's the problem.
Let's move on to another topic. I mean, we've talked about the first song or album that affected us in such a way that we became Kiss fans. But if you would try to look objectively at the biggest Kiss songs in your country, so Sweden for Bernt and Alexander, and Norway for Nils. A song like Unholy made it to number 2 in Norway. That's kind of unbelievable. But is it one of the biggest songs ever for Kiss now? Because hits back in the day, it reached number 8. It's a big hit. But now it's more like, what do people listen to? You can see on Spotify, for example, oh my God, this song has a lot of hits, a lot of views, a lot of listens. So in Norway, what would you say, Nils, are the like 2 or 3 biggest Kiss songs of all time? What do people recognize?
I would say it's different between what's played on the radio and what's sold. But what the biggest Kiss songs in Norway has really been "I Was Made First," and that's a song always played on the radio here, if they play Kiss. And the second one it's like in Europe, Kiss was kind of the Australia of 1980s. So Shandy was really big in Norway, and then we've gotten like tidbits of Shandy at concerts when they played it, just Paul on guitar.
Yeah.
And the second one that's really played on radio is Crazy Nights. Crazy Nights is really big here.
Okay.
And then you have Unholy, but that was just when it sold well. You never hear it on the radio.
It was big for a week.
Yeah, for a week.
Yeah. Alexander and Bernt, let's see if you can agree on the 3 biggest Kiss songs in Sweden.
If you go for the radio part of it, I mean, I listen to like the Swedish P4 radio all the time. That's like public service radio, and the only 2 songs that comes to my mind that are playing there is actually "Rock and Roll Night" and they play "I Was Made for Loving You." That's the 2 songs that they have on their playlist if they're playing a Kiss song. But I guess "Heaven's on Fire" is probably there. It's probably one of the songs,
I think
for sure.
And perhaps "Forever."
Yeah, could be.
Do you think "Forever" is a big song in Sweden? I wouldn't say that.
Not now. If you talk about
we talk about the present
then I will
band,
totally.
not 75 or 89. What are the 3 biggest songs in Sweden now?
I mean, I Was Made is definitely there.
Yeah, I Was Made.
And I Was Made, and I Was Made, Heaven's on Fire, and maybe Rock and Roll Night, maybe, but I don't know.
I think I have to agree. I think those are the 3 biggest songs in Sweden right now. And I think it might differ a bit from America. I don't think they would put Heaven's on Fire in the top 3, for example.
No.
That's the second wave or third wave or whatever it was in Sweden.
Because I remember another thing that amazed me a bit, because I think that the Scandinavian countries are the same when it comes to what they listen to and what kind of albums that are being sold. But I made a couple of specials about Kiss in Denmark, and I got so surprised because they said to me that after Unmasked, Kiss totally died in Denmark. They didn't sell anything more, and they weren't popular anymore. I don't know about Norway from that point of view, because sometimes Norway and Denmark are the same, and sometimes Denmark and Sweden are the same.
Okay. In the beginning of the 80s, Kiss were larger in Norway than they were in Sweden, so it's like
yeah, for sure.
Unmasked went to number 1, didn't it? In Norway. I think on my squad,
almost anyway. And the elder sold to got silver before it even was released.
Oh Jesus! Yeah,
Yeah.
because after it was released, I guess it didn't sold many units.
Oh, actually, it sold really well in Norway.
Yeah.
You guys are crazy. Okay, you guys, we're now we're done 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
But we knew this prior to the show that it could become a long one.
But this is as I said to you. You were saying, Daniel, well, we're lucky if we can make 1 hour. And I said, if you put me on, it won't be 1 hour. It will be several hours.
Yeah.
And then of course we have Alexander and we have Nils, and you are not that bad of talking yourself.
No,
we usually go on for about 2 hours.
That's why the audience have to know that I will put timestamps into the episode so you can skip if it becomes too boring for you. But there are some nuggets over here in this episode that you didn't know before. I think, especially if you're from America, there are quite a few nuggets that you can go and grab in this episode, and we'll use timestamps so you might not have to watch the whole episode, but there are some good stuff being said on this episode. Biggest songs in Scandinavia, but what about this one then?
It was
Nils.
It was fun. We see the comment from Julian here. Creature sold 4,000 for.
Let's put it up. Wait.
Yeah, and you can see if you have to think about it. In Sweden, there's about twice as many people living in Sweden as in Norway.
Yeah.
So that it will be more or less actually the same amount of copies if you double the people.
I get you.
Yeah.
By the way, Daniel, shouldn't we talk about intercourse as well?
No. No, let's skip that one. It was a bad translation we did earlier. It can get kind of crazy when you speak in a second language. And I don't know about you Americans. What's your second language? I guess a lot of people in America speak Spanish. Maybe you know that one. But at times, it feels like I get. What are your views on American Kiss fans? Have you met many American Kiss fans? What do they know? What are their focus? Because the main audience of this podcast, like 75-80%, are from North America. So what are your take on American Kiss fans? I mean, Alexander, you've been all around the world. You've met a lot of people. What's your take on American Kiss fans? Nils, you met a few, and Bernt as well. Let's start with Alexander.
The cool thing when you meet, American Kiss fans is that you can meet people who have seen, tours that haven't been over in Europe. So I remember I met a Kiss fan somewhere at a Kiss concert, and we started to talk, and he said, you know what? I saw Kiss on the Hotter Than Hell tour, in late '74,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the cool things with they have different, tours, and they had the chance to see Kiss on a Live 2 tour, Love Gun tour, Destroyer tour. They never got here and stuff like that. So that's the cool thing when you talk to American fans who were there in the 70s. That's the really cool thing. So, I mean, the first tour, as we said before, the first tour the Kiss did here was like in the spring of '76 in Europe. Yeah. So that's a little different.
What about you, Bernt?
I'm sitting here thinking, because if I should say some things, the American Kiss fans will hate me forever and ever and ever. So I want
Don't say it.
Sorry?
Don't say it then.
No. Cut this away. No, it is like this. What I like with the Americans is, of course, that you belong to one big country and you have Kiss. almost all the time, and especially in the 70s when I got to see Kiss in 1976. And first 4.5 years later, I was able to see Kiss again. So you had Kiss for such a long time, even though they took a break when they were as possible as popular as it was possible. So I envy the Americans from that point of view, because you got to rule and you got to take care of Kiss all the time, and we only get to borrow them a tiny bit every once in a while. So I envy you, and I love you.
Julian corrected me a bit that USA is 50% of our audience. But then we have Australia, Canada, and UK, and then Scandinavia, Sweden, and Finland.
Wow.
Maybe I met a crazy Finnish fan at some point in time. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
say
Nils,
huvudhavet Finland. Yeah, huvudhavet Finland, I say. And I say, and in a while I will say moi moi.
Yeah, that's good in Finnish, I know. But Finnish is such a strange language. It's not even related to Norwegian, Danish, or Swedish, so we don't get it. But Nils, American fans.
Oh, I've been a lot to the States, so it's like.
Have you what have you seen any tours in the States? Kiss tours?
What's in 2014 I saw
Rock the Nate 14, okay.
Yeah, but besides that, I've been a lot to the States because I have a lot of family there, so I've been traveling around also. So for me, American fans are like Americans in general, but it's like people all over the world. There's cool people and there's idiots. So it's but it's I probably the only thing that could be a little more negative. I feel a lot of American fans is a little more entitled. If you understand what I mean,
they're a little bit more. What did you say?
More entitled. They used to.
Okay.
It's a little the same that Bernt is telling. It's like they're used to getting it all the time. So it's like they don't appreciate it as much when.
I get you.
When they get it, it's like here in Europe in the 80s and 90s, where you waited for ages to see them. So it's like.
Yeah. 4.5 years.
Yeah, and that's especially I remember in the early 90s before the reunion tour, you wish that you were living in America because America got, the US got everything. So that was a tough time. So.
Yeah. But in general, there is no difference between people in Europe and in the States as long as you don't discuss politics. Then that's fine.
That's kind of. And we don't do that on this show.
No.
But Alexander, you said in the early 90s. I was a bit surprised that they didn't extend the UK Revenge 1992 tour to the rest of Europe because there was some kind of vibe. How do you think such a Kiss tour would have succeeded in the rest of Europe, Nils?
It would
have continued from the UK,
especially in the north of Europe, it would have done better than it did in the UK. So I don't really understand what they thought about.
No, because the European promoters must have got the question. Kiss is coming to England. Are you interested of taking Kiss as well? I mean, the Scandinavian promoters must have got that question, and they didn't believe in it apparently because Kiss didn't play here. So, but it is really strange because after the UK tour, they did a promotional tour around Europe, and they went to they did a record signing in-store appearance in Norway and in Oslo.
That was insane.
Yeah. So they were in Sweden, did interviews, and they visited the Netherlands, and they did I think Germany and stuff like that as well. So so that's a little crazy. They travel around, did promotion for the Revenge album, but they didn't play. So I mean, it's strange.
Yeah, Bernt.
Well, didn't I reply for that question? Or did I?
92.
No, he was in his
92.
closet back then.
No.
so-
I was in my
Okay, you did know it. Yeah.
in that closet. I went in 85, 86, and I came out 2016. But I can show you my shirt if you want to. It's a
Do you
nice
have a shirt? Yeah, go and get it. Go and get it.
I have it on me. Look at this.
Oh my. Soul Station.
Yeah.
That was an album.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap this up with a final question. And the final question I have for you, we talked a lot about America.
Will we come back?
Europe,
Yes, please.
and American fans and so on. And Bernt always says that he thinks Americans should learn English in order to read all the great KISS literature that is around. So now we have the chance.
But I said not to learn English because they know it already. I said Swedish.
Now, did I say English? I meant Swedish. Learn Swedish in order to read the Swedish books.
Yeah.
Or Norwegian. So, all of you guys, you have 10 seconds to come up with a phrase or a word that you want to teach the American KISS fans. I can go first.
Does it have to be Kiss related?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
I'm going to teach them a very important word. This is something that they have eaten for years, but they don't know what it's supposed to be called. And it's a meatball. And if you want to say meatball in the original language, you have to say köttbulle. Köttbulle.
Only
So
one?
all you fans listening, yeah, that's singular. Plural, köttbullar. But that's too hard. Köttbulle. So if you go to Sweden, you can go to a restaurant and you can say, I'd like to have a köttbulle. Okay. So köttbulle, that's the first word. Now you have your time to think. Hopefully we'll come up with some good stuff. Let's start with a Swedish word. We'll start with Alexander.
And then I will continue with the food thing. There's something, we have a little a piece of bread here. There's really, what do you say? Knäckebröd, which is like, how do you describe it? It's like hard bread kind of thing. That you can put the butter on or anything on. And it's called knäckebröd. Knäckebröd. That's my Swedish word.
Very good word, Alexander. I like
it's
that.
It's good on fiber.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fiber in it.
It's a lot of fiber.
It's a lot of fiber. Yeah. And then let's hear a Norwegian word. I don't know that many Norwegian words.
I think that's the same shit.
Yeah, that's shit.
But I think in one way in Norway the most important word, and it's actually there's a Swedish word for it also.
Julebøy.
No, that's
that's a myth.
That doesn't exist in Norway. But we have a word called kos.
Kos, yeah. Kos.
Kos. I don't know what that is.
It's the same as mys in Sweden.
Or
like cozy.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
Cozy.
Yeah, but mys isn't the same as cozy.
No, not really.
No, but it's the same as hygge in Danish.
Yeah, but I think
nobody cares about the Danish. Keep them out of here.
Yeah, but all those three words says a lot about the Scandinavian mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true.
And I think that's really important words.
Kos. How do you say it? Kos.
Kos. Akkurat.
Kosase.
Kosase. Okay. That's a good word. And finally, Bernt, you get the last word here.
You gave me all the words that I left. I'm thinking about Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons is such a word-interested guy. And he's learning, like in Finland, he said on the concert, kiitos, kiitos, which is, of course, thank you, thank you. In Sweden, he said, tack. But I still think that we have to learn Swedish the Gene Simmons way. So then, of course, it is rumpa, which is bottom.
Jag gillar din rumpa.
Yeah, I like your bottoms, or your bottom, because you only have one bottom. You don't have two, or you have, whatever. But if you think Swedish is hard, it's not. I mean, Gene Simmons knows Swedish. He knows Hungarian. He knows a little bit of Finnish and a little bit of Danish. And of course, in Danish, you have all these lovely words like måneskin, which is moonshine. Which
what is it about you and Danish, Bernt? Nobody cares about the Danish.
I'm half Danish. Then of course I care.
Same here.
Yeah. So finally, what you need to know is all the naughty words, because if you get interested in the naughty words, you will learn the rest. No problem.
Perkele.
So, yeah.
Perkele.
And the same to you. So I say America and England and Australia have a very nice rumpa.
But if you're going to tie the word thing up here, it's most important for you Swedes to tell what kiss means in Swedish.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true. That's
we
an
have
old
to say
one.
that this is so old, and we've all
for Sweden,
but for us, Nils is correct. This is actually correct.
It's a
because
good thing.
For us, it's an old one, but for the rest of the world, they don't know it. So kiss in Swedish is actually piss or urine.
Yeah.
So that's not very good. So kiss. Oh, you like kiss?
Yeah.
You can.
And
imagine
it's still
within.
And still today, there's when you say something about kiss in Sweden, there are people making fun of it, of the name. You know, it happens all the time, and at my job or whatever, you know, when you say something about kiss, they still make fun of it. So
So that's about it, guys. That's about all we have time for today, and we're well over 2 hours. So we hope you people had a good time listening. We appreciate all the comments. There were quite a few comments, and maybe we can do this another time. You guys were great. Alexander.
Thank you for being part of this.
Well, thanks.
Bernt and me, I'm Daniel. So see you the next time, and keep on kissing. I stole your line.
All right, Kiss Army. Welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast.